Hello everyone, Xeno What If here. Bring in part 19 of What If the Maximals crashed landed in Remnant. Link down description of the fanfiction of this What If. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this is not a scam. Chapter 38, Coming of the Fusers Part 2. Veil. As the Predacons and Maximals stared down each other, they pulled the triggers on their guns and fired. And that was the only time they were equal, as it became quickly apparent that the Predacons with the white fang numbers had control of this fight. "Get behind the rocks fast," yelled Ruby as they couldn't hope to win without any form of cover. Hearing Ruby's order and seeing how outnumbered they were, no one needed to be told twice as they rushed for cover. "What's the plan, sis?" asked Yang as she fired a few shots off. "Plan? Who had time to think of a plan?" retorted Ruby as she fired with her ion cannon. "You mean we have no plan?" asked John in shock and fear. "The floor's open," said Ruby as she ducked from oncoming fire. "Aw man, it's times like this I really miss the boss monkey," said Rattrap as he doubted the situation would be much different. "We all do," said Speedclaw as he hung his head down. "Me and Skyshooter can fly overhead and get the drop on them," suggested Cheater. "An excellent flanking maneuver," agreed Dinobot as it could work. "A true classic," agreed Port. "Yeah, with one little problem," said Rattrap as he grabbed a rock about the size of his head and tossed it up. Everyone watched as the rock was in the air as it then got fired upon with such ferocity that when it landed it was a small pebble. Everyone couldn't believe what they saw. "Well, a bot can hope, can he not?" said Dinobot as trying to convince himself. "Hey!" yelled Cheater as he wasn't going out there. "Dinobot!" chided Glinda as they couldn't afford any more losses right now. "What if we break up in smaller teams and surround them?" suggested John as he just thought of it. "Good idea, but there's not much in terms of cover in this area. Anyone who goes out there would be in a dangerous situation," said Skyshooter as it was a good idea, but the landscape and the enemy numbers, it was too dangerous to try to pull off. "Then what do we do?" asked Pyrrha nervous. "We keep firing," yelled Nora as she fired a few rounds out of Magnild in its grenade launcher mode. "You heard her," yelled Ruby as everyone returned fire. On the Predacon side, everyone kept a steady line of fire going. But with so many of them they could fire in waves, so they were able to save their ammo better than the Maximals. It was then they heard two noises. One sound like engine in the other wings. Megatron looked over and grinned as he saw Waspinator and Tarantulas coming their way. But Megatron's focus was more on Tarantulas. "So the spider is a transmetal now as well," thought Megatron as he wondered where he was this whole time. "Now all that's unaccounted for at Blackarachnia," continued Megatron with a frown. "Excellent reinforcements have arrived," said Megatron with a grin to hide his real feeling from his men. "Don't you think this is a bit overkill?" asked a White Fang member nearby. "Maybe," admitted Megatron as nearly every able body was here. "But one can't be too careful when dealing with Maximals." Hearing that all those who fought the Maximals couldn't argue with that. "Prepare for a full all-out attack," ordered Megatron as everyone got ready to fire. "What?" said Silverbolt, suddenly caused everyone to stop and look at him confused. "We outnumber then more than 3-1. started Silverbolt. "Yes," said Megatron as he was getting annoyed. "We have at least 3 times their firepower," continued Silverbolt. "Yes," said Megatron as those near him stepped away in fear. "We should give them the chance to surrender," finished Silverbolt as he couldn't see himself killing like this. Started Megatron as he faked thought about it. "No." Megatron then swung his tail cannon into Silverbolt, knocking the Fusor off his feet. Megatron then got right into Silverbolt's face, making Silverbolt cover his face with his left wing in fear. "Question my commands again, and I will tear you limb from mismatched limb, Fusor. I wish the enemy destroyed quickly and without mercy," declared Megatron as he turned to his men. "Would anyone else care to object?" asked Megatron, caused everyone to shake in fear. "Well, I," started Quickstrike, only for Megatron's to clamp the end of his tail around his throat. "Yes?" asked Megatron as he brought Quickstrike to his face. Does it have to be quick? 'Cause once we cripple them I kind of would like to enjoy their suffer for a while," asked Quickstrike as Megatron dropped him. "I like how you think, Quickstrike. But business before pleasure," said Megatron as he did like that idea. "Megatron," said Adam as he rushed over while avoiding a few shots. What is it, Adam? Asked Megatron as he knew Adam wouldn't rush over for nothing. The Maximals have new allies, said Adam as he looked at where the Maximals were hiding. Hearing this, Megatron looked over and zoomed in. He saw Dr. Oobleck and Ren firing at them. He had no idea who the boy was, but he recognized Dr. Oobleck from Beacon. It seems we were right about Beacon siding with the Maximals, said Megatron as they had nothing solid to go on until now. What about the other two schools? Asked Adam as he wondered if they were with the Maximals as well. It won't matter after tonight, said Megatron as they were pushing the Maximals back. Maybe, but several that we know are with the Maximals are missing. They could be planning something. Adam warned him. You may have a point, Adam. But I highly doubt someone like Ironwood would let someone else take control of his men, stated Megatron as Ironwood's ego wouldn't allow that. I hope you're right, said Adam as they could be heading into an ambush. Oh. Vale, Patch, Axelon. Back at the Axelon, Velvet was getting worried. She was all alone in the Axelon, while Rhinox's mind had left his body. All because he thought he could bring back Optimus. Velvet looked at some of the cables as some went to the cargo bay where they were hooked up to the pod they got earlier. Hurry up, said Velvet nervously as she had no idea what was happening out there. Second warning. Unit Rhinox's core consciousness grows dangerously distant. Chances of return decreasing, warned Sentinel as that didn't help Velvet's worries. Maybe I should call Winter for help, thought Velvet out loud as her worries were getting the best of her. Meanwhile, with Rhinox's consciousness, it was hard to explain where he was. He was in what felt like a white void. He had his body, but it was transparent. Where am I? Rhinox asked himself as he wasn't expecting this. In a void between the living and the dead, said a voice behind Rhinox. Curious, Rhinox turned around and saw a transformer there. This body was mostly white and gray. His lower legs were white with a green strip on either leg on the inside. His upper legs and waist were gray, as well as his lower arms, while his upper arms were white. His chest was white but looked like the top of a car, complete with windshield. His head was gray, and he had no mouth and two fins on the side of his head. He had a shoulder cannon and two wings on his back. But what Rhinox zoned in on was the Autobot symbol on his chest. Who are you? Asked Rhinox, curious. The name's Wheeljack, introduced Wheeljack. Hearing that shocked Rhinox as Wheeljack was a legendary Autobot who died in one of the last battles of the Great War. But he got over his shock as he knew what he had to do. You said we're in a void. Do you know where I can find somebody? Asked Rhinox, hopeful as a guide would be great right now. You mean Optimus Primal, right? Asked Wheeljack, surprising Rhinox. How did you know? Asked Rhinox. My Optimus asked me to come and help you, answered Wheeljack as that surprised Rhinox even more. Your Optimus? How did he know? Asked Rhinox as he never felt so confused before. I don't understand it all myself, but he knew because someone named Ruby knew what you're doing, said Wheeljack as Rhinox's optics went wide as he understood what that could mean. Does that mean that the Matrix connects the current holder with the afterlife? Wondered Rhinox as there was much no one knew about the Matrix. Your guess is as good as mine, admitted Wheeljack as that would be something hard to study. But let's get your leader, shall we? Said Wheeljack as Rhinox nodded. Lead the way, said Rhinox as the two walked off. So you piggyback on a quantum wave surge to get here. Clever, said Wheeljack as he was impressed. Thank you, said Rhinox as that meant a lot coming from him. Oh. Vacuo, Darkseid. At the same time at the Darkseid, Blackarachnia was hard at work herself. After Dinobot stole the discs, she made sure to avoid the area they were kept in for the time being. She went to her quarters and gathered what she wanted and needed. She then made her way to the ship's computer core and uploaded a little something, while also downloading all her work. Now she was back in the area the discs were stored in as she was looking for something. Where is it? Thought Blackarachnia as she was lucky no one came in this room after she left. That was when she found what she was looking for as she moved a bulkhead to the side. She looked at sealed door as she then pressed a button on it. This caused the door to open, revealing a computer console. So this where you kept your data, Megatron? Blackarachnia said to herself as she started the console. Blackarachnia was no fool. She knew that even with Ruby supporting her there were going to be those who mistrusted her. But at the same time, while she didn't have to watch her back with Maximals, she doubted if they could win. But with the data she was about to grab, she'd be safe regardless of which side she was on. But first she had to break Megatron's firewalls, and time was something she was unsure about. Vale, battlefield. Back at the battle, things weren't going good for the Maximals as the Predacons and White Fang were slowly gaining ground on him. The number game was in full effect here, as being outgunned 3-1 was taking a toll on the Maximals. "These Maximals are fools," said Silverbolt, confused as everyone was firing on them. At the same time, the Maximals did their best to return fire, but it was getting risky to leave the rock cover. "We flank their position. They should retreat, but still they fight," continued Silverbolt as their actions confused him greatly. "That's because they are fools," said one White Fang member. "No, he's right," said Megatron as he was so excited he failed to see this. "The Maximals are many things, but they're not suicidal," continued Megatron as he remembered what Adam said earlier. Megatron looked at the Maximal position and thought about what they were doing. That's when he thought he saw something in the background. Curious, he zoomed optics his in and saw some sort of energy trail in the sky. Seeing this, Megatron realized what was going on, somewhat. "They're trying to prevent us from reaching their base," declared Megatron, as why they're doing this was still unclear to him. "But why?" asked Adam, as it made no sense to him. "I do not know," admitted Megatron. "But let's find out. Waspinator, Silverbolt, take to the air and circle wide. Converge on the Maximal's base." Hearing this, both bots transformed into beast mode and took off. But they failed to follow Megatron's orders as they both flew over the Maximals. Something they all took notice of as they tried and failed to shoot them down. "Uh-oh," was all Cheater could say as the two flyers flew past them. "Megatron has deduced our strategy." Such as it was, growled Dinobot, as it wasn't much of a strategy to begin with. But it was the best they could come up with the time they had. "I didn't hear you suggesting anything better," snapped Yang as she glared at Dinobot. "Now is not the time, Miss Xiaolong," said Glinda as she gave her student a look. "That doesn't matter now. Even with Velvet there guarding him, Rhinox is in a dangerous spot and could die easily," stated Skyshooter with a frown. "Then we need a new plan," said Dr. Oobleck, as this one had failed. "Right," said Ruby as she agreed with him as she thought about one. But the tricky part was there wasn't much they could do. Charging the enemy was suicidal. And wouldn't deal with the flyers that just took off. Time was their biggest enemy right now. So there was really only one option. "Cheater, Skyshooter, take care of those flyers. The rest of us will fall back to the Axelon and make our last stand there," instructed Ruby, as this shocked some of them. But Ruby, it won't be easy retreating in a situation like this, Coco told her as she continued to fire. "I know, that's why me, Dinobot and Rattrap will provide covering fire for all of you," said Ruby, shocking Rattrap with Dinobot checked his gun. "Why me?" asked Rattrap as he didn't want to. "Because beside me your new beast mode is fast," explained Ruby as Rattrap couldn't counter that. "Cheater, Skyshooter, go. The more time you're here the bigger the gap gets," said Ruby as the two nodded. Skyshooter then transformed as he took off, staying low for a while. "This weapon is depleted," said Dinobot as he needed some time to rearm it. "I need a running start," said Cheater as he wasn't quite there with his takeoff yet. "Really, mates?" was all Boomer could say as he noticed his ammo was getting low himself. "The pair of ya, do I have to do everything?" said Rattrap, annoyed as he then kicked Cheater in the rear with enough force to send him skywards. Cheater cried out in shock as he narrowly avoided getting hit as he then transformed. He then activated his jets and flew off. "Move out," ordered Ruby as she made sure Crescent Rose was ready. She saw everyone starting to move back, except for the beacon teaching staff. "What are you three doing?" asked Ruby, worried. "Miss Rose, if that full attack force should attack your base, you would not stand a chance," said Dr. Oobleck. "That's why we're going to slow them down for you," continued Professor Port. "But," started Ruby, only for Glinda to cut her off. "We know the risks, but we are huntsmen after all. And above all else you're teachers. It's our job to make sure you have a future," Glinda told her as Ruby shut her eyes as she didn't want to agree with them. Ruby then tossed Glinda her ion cannon, confusing her. "That's a loan. I want it back," said Ruby as Glinda heard the unheard command, "Come back alive." Rattrap then transformed into his beast mode and got his vehicle mode ready. "Hop on." Rattrap told Dinobot could only shudder for what this was going to entail as he did. "Let's go," said Ruby as she dashed off while Rattrap drove off. The teachers of Beacon shared a look as they continued to fire on the White Fang. They knew the White Fang was the bulk of the attack force, so their best bet was to keep them pinned. And hope that the others could deal with the Predacons. Meanwhile, with Waspinator and Silverbolt both were flying at a leisurely pace to the Axelon. "Waspinator is in command. Waspinator will lead." "Yes," said Waspinator as he took the lead. "Well, since you're the one who knows the way. Go ahead, lead on," Sliverbolt told him as it made the most sense to him. But then Waspinator stopped out of nowhere, causing Silverbolt to crash right into him. Waspinator then turned around and faced Silverbolt. "You not tell Waspinator what to do." "Waspinator in command," declared Waspinator. "Okay, fine. What is your command?" said Silverbolt as he gave Waspinator a salute. While in his head he was wondering if something was wrong with Waspinator. "Doggybot follow Waspinator. Waspinator will lead," Waspinator told Silverbolt as he turned around and flew off. Sliverbolt on the other hand now knew there was something wrong with Waspinator. But not just Waspinator, but the Predacons as a whole. But Silverbolt was brought out of his thoughts when he heard a hawk cry. Then out of nowhere Skyshooter tackled Waspinator from below. Waspinator cried out in shock as he lost control. Skyshooter then transformed and shot Waspinator in the wings, causing him to fall. Sliverbolt was about to attack when Cheater stopped in front of him. Cheater growled at Silverbolt as he then took off. Seeing Cheater taking off like that caused Silverbolt to chase after him, forgetting about Skyshooter. Skyshooter saw this as he followed them but kept his distance in case Cheater needed help. Back with the others, most the Maximals had started to fall back to a safe distance where a ground bridge would take them back to the Axelon. Thankfully the teachers were giving them enough covering fire to slip away. While Ruby got a fair distance away and was using Crescent Rose in its sniper mode to cause some confusion. But with Dinobot he figured this was the worst thing he has done since the Beast Wars had started, as he rode on Rattrap's back. He could feel every bump as he has doing his very best to stay on. To think a warrior, must become a rat patrol. Said Dinobot as he got his gun ready. "You just handle that fire hose, Fenderhead. And leave the driving to me," retorted Rattrap as he drove off. Megatron saw this and grinned. "They're running," declared Megatron, only to get nearly hit in the shoulder by Professor Port. "Looks like the Beacon staff are staying," said Adam as he saw the three teachers still firing at them. "Adam, leave the main attack force behind to deal with them. You will join me and the other Predacons on an assault on the Maximal base," ordered Megatron as he wanted quality over quantity right now. "AKA," yelled Adam as a female with Sika deer horns on her head ran over. "Yes," said AKA, "you're in charge here. Once you're done with the enemies here, join us at the Maximal base," instructed Adam. "Sir," said AKA as she took charge. "Let's go, Megatron," said Adam as he turned to face Megatron, only to see him already in the air flying towards the Axelon. "I hate it when he does that," grumbled Adam as he headed for a ship. Oh. Vacuo, Darkseid. Blackarachnia grinned to herself as she broke the last of Megatron's firewalls. On the screen before her was every bit of data on the 2 discs Megatron had. "It's all here," Blackarachnia said to herself as part of her doubt Megatron would leave everything in one place. Then again, he is really arrogant, Blackarachnia added mentally as she looked at the data before her. "Computer download and triple encrypt," ordered Blackarachnia as the console opened to download all the data into Blackarachnia. Feeling the data entering her head, Blackarachnia couldn't help but grin. This data was worth more than a valley full of dust and energon together. But then a thought entered her head. It was only good if this was the right planet, and even before the quantum surge a lot of the bots were questioning if this was the right planet. When the last of the data entered her head, Blackarachnia took a few steps back and brought out a gun she swiped from the White Fang. She then shot the console several times, destroying it. With her tracks now covered, Blackarachnia calmly walked away as ones and zeros were in her optics. Oh. Vale, Battlefield. Dinobot grinned as he fired at another group of White Fang, causing some to scatter, while others laid on the ground in pain. That should be enough for a distraction, said Rattrap as he tried to dodge some fire. Agreed, said Dinobot as he was getting low on ammo again. Hearing that, Rattrap drove off as Dinobot fired a few parting shots at the White Fang. Then out of nowhere something hit Rattrap from behind, making him lose control slightly. Dinobot looked back and frowned as Tarantulas, in his vehicle beast mode, was there. Roadhog, yelled Rattrap as he tried to get some space. But Tarantulas refused to give him space. Can't you shoot him? Asked Rattrap as he got rammed again. If you stopped moving around I could, retorted Dinobot as he was doing his best to hang on. Rattrap growled, hearing that, as he couldn't shake the spider. But then he got an idea as he saw a pillar in front of him. Hang on, yelled Rattrap as he braked hard, causing him to spin out of control. Tarantulas was confused by this as it made no sense to him, until he saw what was in front of him. He was so focused on the two Maximals he wasn't paying attention to his surroundings. And as such he collided right into the pillar. That's what you get for tailgating, mocked Rattrap while Dinobot looked up while shaking his head. That was when he saw a boulder and grinned. Dinobot fired upwards as he hit the boulder, causing it to move downwards. At the same time Tarantulas had transformed as he rubbed his head. He then heard some rumbling sounds and looked up. Of course, was all he said as the boulder crushed him. What is it with things crushing him? Rattrap asked Dinobot curiously. I have no idea, admitted Dinobot as the two drove off. Meanwhile with Ruby, she had to catch her breath as she was out of breath from all the running and shooting she did. But she didn't get much of a break as Inferno saw her and started to shoot at her. Lucky for Ruby, Inferno's shots missed her as she rushed for cover and returned fire. But then things got worse for Ruby as Megatron saw them and transformed, joining in. Ruby was trapped in her cover as the two Predacons continued to fire on her. And worse yet, she could hear the two laughing with joy as they tried to blow her to bits. So hoping for a miracle shot, Ruby aimed Crescent Rose at Inferno and fired. And by some miracle the shot hit Inferno's flight system, causing him to lose control and fly right into Megatron. The sudden collision caused the two to crash to the ground hard. When the dust cleared, Ruby looked over and started to laugh. The reason being was that Megatron and Inferno heads got swapped around. This is great, said Ruby as she quickly pulled out her scroll and took a picture of the two as they looked her way. Ruby then rushed off while Inferno laughed and Megatron growled. Shut up, growled Megatron as he punched Inferno in the head. Back with Cheater, he saw the Axelon and opened his comms. Cheater to Velvet, said Cheater as he looked back and saw Silverbolt was still on his tail. What is it, Cheater? Is everything okay? Asked Velvet in a worried tone. I got a new Predacon on my tail. Why don't you say hello? Answered Cheater as they flew next the Axelon. That was when the Axelon's shield went down, and the auto guns activated. Inside the Axelon, Velvet locked onto Silverbolt, and when she was ready, she fired. Silverbolt Terror started Silverbolt only to get nailed by the auto guns mid-transformation. Silverbolt landed on the ground with a thud as he was out of sorts from his crash. When he regained his senses, he tried to get up only for Cheater to hold his whip at his head. Don't even move, warned Cheater as he wasn't in the mood. That was when the others approached them, while Rattrap and Dinobot drove up. Where's Ruby? Asked Weiss as she didn't see her with them. Last we saw she was causing confusion in the White Fang ranks. Answered Dinobot as he wasn't worried about her. She's still out there, yelled Yang, worried as she looked at the direction of the battle. But before they could say or do anything else, Ruby rushed in. Is everyone okay? Asked Ruby between breaths. Are you? Asked Yang as she rushed over to her. Had a little run-in with Megatron, but I'm good, replied Ruby as she saw the downed Silverbolt. Everyone followed her line of sight as they all looked at Silverbolt. Seeing everyone looking at him made Silverbolt uneasy. So, get on with it. Destroy me, said Silverbolt as he thought what the Maximals did. Dinobot brought out his sword and was ready to strike Silverbolt down. But then Yatsuhashi grabbed his arm, stopping him. Where's the honor in striking down an unarmed enemy? Said Yatsuhashi as he stared Dinobot right in the optics. Very well, said Dinobot as he saw what Yatsuhashi said. What? Was all Silverbolt could say, confused. Take him to the CR chamber for repairs. Said Ruby as something told her she could trust him. Are you sure? He is the enemy. Stated Ren as he was still unsure of a lot of things in this war. What's your name? Ruby asked Silverbolt, curious. Silverbolt. Answered Silverbolt without any hesitation as Ruby was surprised to hear that name. I can be now. Anyone with that name can be trusted. Said Ruby, confusing everyone. How can you be so sure? Asked John as a name can't be a good reason to trust someone. It's hard to put into words. But his name and his eyes say a lot to me. It's a leader thing, explained Ruby as she looked at Coco and John with the last bit. Come on, said Bladegator as he helped Sliverbolt up. That was when Velvet came rushing out. Is everyone okay? Asked Velvet, worried. For now, but the battle will be coming here soon. How's Rhinox? Answered Skyshooter as it was only a matter of time before Megatron forces reached here. The computer said he's back, but he hasn't moved yet. Velvet told them as they had mixed feelings about that. Okay everyone, we don't know when the Preds will be here. Take some time to rest and resupply. Ordered Ruby as everyone headed into the Axelon. In the command area, Rattrap, Speedclaw, Nora, Ren, and Velvet looked at Rhinox still on the table. He is back, right? Asked Speedclaw, worried about Rhinox. That's what the computer told me. Answered Velvet, hoping Rhinox's mind is okay. He's probably just getting his system back in order. Said Rattrap, though it sounded more like he was trying to convince himself more than the others. Why do you all think he can bring this Optimus back to life? Asked Ren, suddenly surprising them. Speedclaw, Rattrap, and Velvet shared a look as Rattrap answered. We don't. Started Rattrap as this surprised Ren and Nora. But if Rhinox here thinks there's a chance, then that's good enough for us. Hearing that, Ren wasn't sure what to say. He wasn't expecting that answer. But then again, he wasn't expecting nearly everything he's seen and done today. Sometimes hope is the best we can do. Said Nora as she felt similarly to Ren. Hope is the strongest weapon we have. Said Rhinox as the table tilted upwards so he could stand. Rhinox, what happened? Asked Velvet as she was curious. It's hard to put into words. I was in a void between the living and the dead. Started Rhinox as he wasn't sure how to explain it himself. Forget that. Did it work? Asked Rattrap, hopeful. With Wheeljack's help I did find him. He just has to follow the trail I left him. Said Rhinox as everyone was happy and confused at the same time. Who's Wheeljack? Asked Nora, confused. An Autobot from the Great War. Answered Speedclaw as he was confused as well. That was when the base shook and they heard explosions. They all knew what it meant. That was when a screen nearby turned on and Cheater was on it. We got a full-scale Pred attack. And the shields are failing. Warned Cheater as everyone in the base heard him. Oh great, we're all going to die. Said Rattrap as he believed it this time. It happens. Started Rhinox as he brought out his machine gun. But miracles happen too. Let's go. Right behind you. Said Speedclaw as everyone got their weapons out. They all knew their only chance at survival was to fight. Outside the Axelon, Megatron along with all the Predacons and Atom aimed their weapon at the Axelon. All Predacons, open fire, declared Megatron as everyone fired at will. Every available Maximal stood outside the Axelon as the shield was taking a pounding. Are you okay, John? Asked Ruby as she walked up to him. No, admitted John as this night was, well, he hasn't found the right words for it yet. If you said yes, then I would be worried. Admitted Ruby as the two shared a small chuckle. Are we going to make it? Asked John as he eyed his team as he could see the worry on their faces. I don't know, admitted Ruby, but it do know this, if we don't try we will die. Hearing that, John nodded as he agreed with her. Shield failure in 18 seconds. Warned Sentinel as everyone got a look of fear on their faces. Everyone, cover now, yelled Ruby as everyone tried to find what cover they could. Seeing this filled everyone with a sense of dread. But meanwhile in the Axelon, where Rhinox's setup was, an energy burst hit the setup as it traveled through the connected cables to the stasis pod. When the energy hit the pod, the pod's door burst open. Then a copper-colored hand gripped the side of the pod. The being then started to make their way through the Axelon. But due to all the power being diverted to the shields, the lights were out as not much could be seen of this new being. But each step this being took, a loud stomp could be heard, as it made its way to the command area. Once there it turned to the CR chamber and opened it. Silverbolt came back online as the very first thing he saw shocked and scared him as his mouth fell open and his optics widened. Back outside, the Predacons kept up their assault as the shield finally broke. "It's us and the Preds now," stated Rhinox as they lost their last line of defense. "You know my vote," said Cheater as he started to fire on the Preds. At the same time everyone else joined in. The Preds quickly took cover as this time they were the ones outnumbered. But then disaster struck the Maximals. Due to not having much time to recover and restock, their guns started to run out ammo as one by one they couldn't fire anymore. "Oh come on," yelled Yong as she had no more ammo. "They have no more ammo," stated Adam as they stopped firing. "Then's let finish them partners," yelled Quickstrike in joy. "Royalty look," said Inferno as Ruby was walking in front of her friends. "Ruby, what are you doing?" yelled Weiss in shock and fear of Ruby's actions. "We can't cover you," added Velvet as they had no ammo. "I got one more weapon left," said Ruby as they who knew went wide-eyed. "Optics." "What is it?" asked John confused. "A failsafe weapon," was all Skyshooter said as this was a gamble. "Leave Megatron before I use my eyes on you," warned Ruby as she was hoping he'd listen. "True, your eyes are indeed powerful, Ruby. But I figured out their weakness," responded Megatron. Then out of nowhere Adam popped out and fired at the ground before Ruby. The shockwave from the blast knocked Ruby back. At the same time Megatron came out of hiding and opened fire on Ruby. Seeing this, Ruby used her semblance to get back to the others. Seeing that Ruby's tactic failed, Dinobot stood up with his sword ready. He knew it was a deadly plan, but he would rather die fighting than cowering somewhere. Only for him to get shot in the gut. That made him hunch over as he was dragged into cover by someone. That was when a barrage of shots hit the cover the Maximals were using. When the Predacons let up for a second, the Maximals' cover was gone, and they were all exposed. "Oh no," was all Rattrap could say as he voiced everyone's thoughts. What happened next was a blur for everyone as the Predacons fired everything they had at them. The bots felt like their bodies were being torn apart, while the organics auras protected them at first. But it soon broke and none of them felt pain like that before. When most of them came to, they saw the sun starting to rise. They looked at each other and knew this was the end. The bots were dinged up, circuits showing, even limbs missing. While the organics were bleeding, clothes ripped and damaged, while their gear needed repairs. "Here comes the dawn," said Rhinox weakly as he had a hole in his chest. "And our doom," added Dinobot as his right forearm fell off. "Why aren't we dead?" asked Ren confused. "Megaton probably wants to do that close up," admitted Rattrap as his body refused to work. "You can't be serious," said Pyrrha in disbelief as she never heard of someone like this before. At the same time Megatron and his forces were ready. As they allowed the Maximals the chance to wake up, they used it to reload and such. "Move out, Predacons. We waited a long time for this. Yees. Let us be close enough to enjoy it," said Megatron as he started to walk forward. The others followed Megatron as they all got their weapons ready. As Adam got closer, he looked Blake right in the eyes, making her look on with fear. He then looked at Yong near her and grinned as Blake got the message. "At least we go with honor," was all Dinobot could say in this situation. At the same time the beacon staff had arrived, a little worse for wear, and gasped at the sight before them. "Finish it," said Megatron as he aimed at Ruby. "With pleasure," said Adam as he got his sword ready. But then there was a huge explosion from the Axelon itself, shocking everyone. When the smoke cleared, everyone was shocked by what they saw, both Maximals and Predacon alike. "Well, that's just Prime," said no other than Optimus Primal himself, and is a trans-metal too. Optimus's new body had silver flat feet and lower legs with blue kneecaps, while his thighs were silver too. His arms were bulky and silver with his shoulder and hands a copper color. His chest area was also copper with the center more of a bronze color with copper-colored abs. His head was mostly bronze color with a helmet on with two fins on the back on either side. His lower face and eyes were copper in color. And on his back was some sort of backpack with two maces on it and was secured on his shoulders. And on his right hip was a weird-looking gun. It looked like a square with a cone on the front with a handle. "Big bot," said Cheater with a mix of happiness and shock in his voice. Skyshooter, Bladegator, and Speedclaw all share look of joy as their friend was back. "You did it, Rhinox," said Ruby as a huge smile was on her face, a smile Rhinox copied. "Primal. Destroy him," ordered Megatron as he had no idea how he came back, but he wasn't going to stay long. Everyone fired at Optimus, but Optimus was ready as he pulled out a riot shield blocking the shots. Once Optimus knew it was safe, he dropped the shield. "My turn," said Optimus with a hard glare. That was when his backpack flipped over and Optimus grabbed hold of the shoulder parts. That was when everyone saw Optimus had shoulder-mounted cannons now, complete with targeting screen. "So cool," said Ruby and John with stars in their eyes. Optimus then opened fire on the Predacons. He nailed Waspinator with the first few shots, sending the bug flying. As for the others, they were forced to flee as their ammo was starting to run low and Optimus wasn't giving them much choice in the matter. Seeing the brought smiles to the Maximals' faces as they cheered. Seeing that the Preds were on the run, Optimus stopped firing. But he wasn't done with them yet, as he was really angry about the current state of his friends. He then transformed into beast mode, where the top part of his body spun around as his chest was navy blue as was his gorilla head. Then his feet turned and connected, creating a surfboard. Then to everyone's surprise he took off. "He has a flying surfboard," said Yang in shock as she wanted one. "Flight is no longer your advantage, Optimus," said Megatron as he saw Optimus flying away. He then transformed and took after him. "What now, mates?" asked a weak boomer. "We get inside and heal up. If we try to follow Optimus in out current states, we'd be more of a hindrance than help," said Ruby as she could barely stand. That was when they heard growling above them. They all then saw Sliverbolt, in beast mode, taking off after Optimus. "Optimus," said Velvet, worried as none of them could do anything. "You should worry about yourselves first," said Adam as he came out of hiding as he was ready to end them. "Good advice," said Glinda as she used her semblance to lift Adam up and toss him into river. Hearing Adam screaming brought a smile to Blake's face. Especially when she heard him hit the water. "Let's get you all to the CR chamber," said Glinda as she was checking the student over. "What's that?" asked Dr. Oobleck, curious. "A way to heal," said Weiss as she was in pain. But at the same time everyone was hoping that Optimus would come back soon. Meanwhile with Optimus he spotted Inferno, Tarantulas, and Quickstrike below him. He then landed as he transformed. He then saw Tarantulas and Quickstrike looking over a boulder at him, while their guns were aimed at him. Optimus then turned his head to see Inferno with both guns out as he walked out from a boulder. Optimus looked at the two groups as he tried to keep an eye on both of them, waiting for the first group to make the first move. Then Inferno fired 2 missiles at Optimus. Optimus barely saw them as he hit the ground. But the missiles kept going and hit Tarantulas and Quickstrike, taking the 2 out. "Your turn to burn, Optimus Primal," stated Inferno as he put his guns on his hips. Seeing this, Optimus got up as his hand went near his gun on his hip. The two then stared at each other, both wondering who will make the first move. But unknown to both of them, Megatron was nearby as he was watching them both, waiting for the right moment to strike. Then both Inferno and Optimus drew their weapons at the same time. But Optimus was quicker to pull the trigger. Optimus' shot hit Inferno, sending him flying. Seeing this, Megatron grinned as he hoped Inferno would fail so he could finish Optimus himself. "Hello and goodbye, Transmetal Optimus Primal," declared Megatron as he activated his shoulder cannons. Optimus heard Megatron, but he had no time to react as Megatron was ready to fire. But then out of nowhere Sliverbolt came flying in. He then transformed and kicked Megatron with enough force that he went flying off a ledge and started to fall. Optimus and Sliverbolt were then quick to look over the ledge and saw it was a very deep fall for Megatron. "Consider that my resignation from the Predacons," yelled Silverbolt as he now knew he wasn't meant to be with them. "I know now, my place was always with the Maximals. May I join you?" requested Sliverbolt as he hoped Optimus would say yes. At the same time, they could both hear Megatron screaming as he continued to fall. Both spared a second to look down again as they saw Megatron tumbling down. "Well, I like your resume," said Optimus as that put a smile on Sliverbolt's face. Some time later at the Axelon, nearly everyone was healed up as Rhinox left the CR chamber. The only ones not healed up were Team JNPR, Professor Port, and Dr. Oobleck. This sucks. Why can we use that thing? Asked Nora as she had bandages all over her. Because Nora, there's no base scan for you in the system. Without it there's no telling what the CR chamber could have done to you. Answered Blake as she was sore. Then why didn't we get one? Questioned Nora annoyed. Things just moved too fast. And the scans take time, answered Weiss as she was ready for bed. I guess that makes sense. Admitted John, though he wished he could get in there and heal up faster. Once you get healed up, we'll scan each of you. Assured Ruby as she was glad their injuries weren't that bad. Can I have everyone's attention please? Said Optimus as he stood near the front of the room. When he saw everyone looking at him, he spoke. I know everyone here is sore and tired, so I'll keep this quick. I want to thank all of you for fighting today. I know I just got back, and I see I have a lot of catching up to do. I see new faces here. I see we have new elements around us. But I can't put into words how proud of you I am. Hearing that made some of the people in the room smile. Not even back an hour and he's already making cheesy speeches. Said Rattrap with a smile as some shook their heads at Rattrap. But I would like to know a few things right now. Like the state of the world. Asked Optimus curious. Hearing that everyone's mood changed. Optimus, while you did save Remnant. There's a lot of damage out there. Started Ruby as Glinda took over. Right now we were in the process of figuring out everything, but it's not good so far. Glinda told him with a frown. Erazar and Tigatron are out there right now scouting. We should get a report soon. Finished Skyshooter. I see. Said Optimus with a frown as he wasn't expecting good news. And what of our new bodies? How do they hold up energon exposure? Asked Optimus as he looked at his new transmetal body. Not a problem around here. Said Cheater. This part of the planet took the blunt of the alien weapon. All the raw energon either exploded or transformed into stable crystals. Explained Rhinox as Optimus nodded. I see. Said Optimus as there was a lot he needed to catch on. Wait, where's Blackarachnia? Asked Optimus as he hadn't seen her since he came back. No one answered as they weren't sure. That was when the lift activated and Blackarachnia came in. Blackarachnia, where were you? Asked Ruby curious. Around. Getting some things. Was Blackarachnia's answer as she held a bag. Okay. Was all Ruby said as she knew she wasn't going to get anything more out of her. At the same time though Sliverbolt's optics went wide at the sight of Blackarachnia. Well, everyone get some rest for now. I think we need to have a meeting in a few days to get everything settled. Said Optimus as Varys people agreed with him. Except for you Rattrap. Said Optimus confusing the others. Huh, why me? Asked Rattrap worried he got a mission coming. You have to clear your junk out of my quarters. Said Optimus sternly. Hearing that caused those who knew Rattrap to sigh. We should have seen that coming. Said Yong as it was just like Rattrap to do something like that. We should have. Agreed Cheater. Oh. Vacuo, Darkseid. Words failed Megatron right now. Not only did they fail to destroy the Maximals, but somehow Optimus Primal was alive again. And while this was going on, Dinobot stole the golden discs from him. And someone stole all his data on them as well. Megatron. Started Adam. He approached Megatron as he sat in his command chair. What's our next move? Asked Adam as he made sure to keep some distance in case Megatron was ready to take out his frustrations. For now, we wait. We need to see what's happening with the world and how we can use it our advantage. Answered Megatron as there was many X factors to deal with right now. Agreed. Said Adam as he left Megatron in the room. After a few minutes of walking, Adam stopped and looked around closely and saw he was alone. He then brought out his scroll and started to type. It's time. After this failed attack his support is low. Was the message Adam sent as he got a reply. Once I'm healed, we go. Read Adam who grinned. It was time for a new leadership around here. And with that he walked off to get things ready. Oh. Unknown location. Cinder sat at a long wooden table that was purple in color and she sat on a chair that looked like it was made from bones. That is all. Said Cinder as she finished her story about the Beast Wars. I see. Said a woman sitting at the other end of the table. This woman was the same one who took control of the flying island. That is quite the story my child. Said the woman. I would not lie to you. Said Cinder as she knew that can be fatal. And I don't doubt that. But your suggestion. Said the woman. I understand, but if Ozpin has the forces of the Maximals on his side, it might tip things in his favor. Said Cinder. I highly doubt that, said the woman as she knew Ozpin better than anyone. But you have never met Optimus or Ruby. They have a way of getting people to listen to them, warned Cinder. You've changed, my dear, said the woman as she wasn't sure if it was for better or worse. But the facts are sooner or later you will get involved in this war somehow, my master. Won't it be better to control when that happens rather than letting them come to you? Asked Cinder as the woman thought about it. You have a point, Cinder. But I must think about it, said the woman. Of course, Salem, my master, said Cinder as she had a grin on her face as things were moving the way she wanted. Chapter 39, New World. Vale, Beacon. Professor Ozpin has lived long enough that he can say this without any doubt. Politics is the greatest evil that has ever happened on Remnant. It feels as though as the years go by more and more politicians care more about themselves and their images than the people they swore to help. But at the same time Ozpin never wanted to see what would happen if the government collapses and what could happen in the aftermath. But at the same time there were some politicians he wouldn't mind shooting or leaving them to the grim. Currently Ozpin was talking with the other headmasters of the other school via video conference. The point of this meeting was to discuss what's happening in their areas. Though one thing that's happened in all their areas was that their government's wanting to expand while the grim levels are low. I'm sorry. I think there was a communication error on my side. What did you just say, Ozpin? Asked Theodore, the headmaster of Shade Academy. Theodore has a well-toned, peak physical body. He has dark skin with a buzz-cut hairstyle. He wore a checkered vest to show off his frame. On his back he wears a gray-blue cape and on his hands, we wore red gloves. Not much else could be seen since he was sitting behind his desk. There is no error, Theodore. I suggested we go through with the Vital Festival. Repeated Ozpin in a calm tone. I thought so. But can I ask why? We have enough going on in our kingdoms right now as it is. Stated Theodore as he was stretched thin on his huntsman right now. I know. But after the reckoning, as people are calling it, we need something to show stability. Countered Ozpin as people were still worried and scared. He does have a point, Theodore. We need to show people we have the situation under control. Agreed Ironwood. But what if the Grim come back? Asked Lionheart, the headmaster of Heaven Academy. Lionheart was an older man with tanned, gray hair and a matching beard. He has tanned skin. He wears a brown greatcoat with a white dress shirt and dark brown vest under it. Around his neck he wore a western necktie. Lionheart, they will be back. That you can count on. So let's use this chance to make sure we're ready when they do. Stated Ozpin as the others agreed with him. On that topic, how should we get ready for them? Asked Theodore as he looked at Ironwood, knowing he'd answer first. We need to get our huntsmen trained up and organized. Started Ironwood as they all knew he would say that. And I hear that the Schnee Dust Company has something big in the works. But they won't say anything. Finished Ironwood as this caught Theodore's attention. Any ideas what it is? Theodore asked him curiously. None. Lied Ironwood as he knew exactly what it was but stayed quiet for now. Why am I not surprised with that man? Said Theodore as he never liked Jacques. Actually, I hear that Willow is leading this. Corrected Ironwood as that caught Theodore off guard. Gentlemen, we are getting off topic right now. Reminded Ozpin as they agreed. But other than training, what can we do, because I doubt she'll stay quiet for long. Said Lionheart with fear in his voice. You're right on that, Lionheart. But her hold has been weakened. Something we can hopefully take advantage of. Stated Ozpin as he brought his hands together. What do you mean, hopefully? Asked Ironwood, confused. Hearing that, Ozpin sighed before answering. The future is an unknown thing. There will be those who will try to take advantage of everything that has happened. There will be those who believe they know better. And most importantly, those who are angry. She can use any of these things to her advantage. Said Ozpin as no one said anything. But Ozpin made sure to look at Lionheart when he said that, while making sure he didn't get seen. And what he saw made his heart break. Lionheart couldn't look at any of them, while he had a look of fear and regret in his eyes. And a thin layer of sweat was forming on his skin. Oh, Leonardo. Thought Ozpin sadly as his fears were confirmed by this. I know this is a lot, gentlemen. Started Ozpin. But we need to show the people that things are fine and under control. And with Amity we can do that. I know I'm asking a lot of you all to do this. But if we do this, I believe that we will calm many people down. The other headmasters thought about Ozpin's word. I agree. We need to keep the population in check, said Ironwood. You don't have to say it like that. But I agree too, said Theodore as he gave Ironwood a dirty look. So do I, said Lionheart, though he didn't sound too sure about it. Thank you all. I then suggest we end this meeting and look into getting the festival going again on our own ends, suggested Ozpin as they agreed with him as they hanged up. Ozpin was alone as he sighed. He had one more major meeting today, and that was with the Maximals. And in this meeting he was going to tell them the truth. And experience has shown him that he was going to lose trust today and probably some allies. Vale, Patch, Axelon. Blackarachnia was working in her lab. She still can't believe that they gave her a lab to work in. But calling this a lab is a stretch right now, thought Blackarachnia as it was an empty room right now, expect for a computer terminal to work on. Optimus and Rhinox told her to fill out a request form for everything she wanted. But the problem with that was right now, other than the basics, she didn't know what else she wanted. She had one project, but it was pretty much down and needed testing. What to focus on? Mused Blackarachnia as she looked at her research on the new trans-metal transformers and thought about working on that. But she doubted Optimus would allow her to. That was when there was a knock on the door. Yes? Asked Blackarachnia as she already knew who it was. Hello Blackarachnia, said Silverbolt as he walked in. Silverbolt, said Blackarachnia with a smirk. She knew there was something going on with him towards her. And to be honest, she was enjoying his attempts. I just wanted to let you know we are about ready to go to the meeting, said Silverbolt as all the Maximal Bard Tigatron and Erizar will be there. I see, said Blackarachnia as she doubted being in a room full of former enemies will be fun. But you could have used the comms, you know, said Blackarachnia as she got up and looked at Silverbolt. I just wanted to make sure you were informed, said Silverbolt as he was trying to sound convincing and failing. I'm sure the others have told you about me already, asked Blackarachnia with no doubt about that. They have, and they warned me not to get too close to you, answered Silverbolt as he listened to their warnings. And you're not going to listen to them? Asked Blackarachnia curious. I have, but I wish to learn about you first, then make my mind up, stated Silverbolt. Well, be careful then, cause I am a bad girl, Blackarachnia told him, but Silverbolt still looked sure. I don't believe that, said Silverbolt firmly. If you really are the bad girl that you think you are, you wouldn't be here. Instead you'd probably overthrow Megatron or something. No, I believe that your maximal spark is still within you and is telling you to reach out to us. Blackarachnia just stood there as she blinked a few times, before laughing. Oh my god, do you think those lines up on the spot or do you write them down? Asked Blackarachnia laughing as she then stopped and walked over to Silverbolt. Let me make myself clear on this, Bowser boy. I look out for myself. If I have to choose between you and myself, I'll pick myself every time, warned Blackarachnia as she then brought out her gun and placed it under his chin. You forget that, and you might die. I see, was all Silverbolt said. He saw the gun wasn't loaded, so he wasn't worried about that. But he also knew when not to push something, and he felt he was on the edge with Blackarachnia. So with that in mind he left the room. He's going to be fun, said Blackarachnia with a smirk. Vale, Beacon. In Beacon's weapon forge, Ruby worked alone as most of the staff and students were out of the building today helping where they can. But in truth Ozpin set things up that way so they could have the meeting there without distractions. Ruby looked at her weapons Crescent Rose, Silver Thorns, and her ion cannon as they laid on the table before her. She had just given them a thorough tune-up and inspection and was happy they were all in top form. She then looked at them all again and chuckled. If you told her a year ago that she would have 3 weapons, she would have told you, really, what are they, and such. Ruby, what are you doing here? Asked Weiss as she marched into the room. Giving my gear a thorough check-up, answered Ruby as she put her gear away. And do you know what time it is? Asked Weiss with an annoyed look on her face. The meeting going to start soon, isn't it? Answered Ruby as she lost track of time. In 30 minutes, said Weiss with a frown. Sorry, but I needed to unwind a little bit, said Ruby as she needs some after the last little bit. I understand that, said Weiss as she needed some too. Shall we? Gestured Ruby as the two left the forge and headed to the meeting room. As the two walked, Weiss couldn't help but think about something. Ruby, what do you think will happen? Asked Weiss, confusing Ruby. What do you mean? Ruby asked her, trying to understand what she meant. What I mean is, what going to happen to everything going forward? Clarified Weiss as Ruby thought about it. I don't know, admitted Ruby. Everything is up in the air right now. With Grimm at an all-time low, people are venturing out more. But Megatron is still out there and there's no telling what he'll do. But I'm sure we'll figure something out, added Ruby as she smiled at Weiss, making her smile, as the two headed to the meeting. A little while later, nearly everyone was sitting in massive conference room as their numbers were around 38 people. But the only ones not there were Tigatron, Eraser, Kiro, and surprisingly Ironwood weren't there. I guess we should get started, said Optimus as he stood up. What about the people not here? Asked Clover, curious. Tigatron and Eraser called in saying they couldn't make it as they found a deposit of raw and stable energon in the same location. They're making sure it's safe, started Optimus. How dangerous is that? Asked Willow, curious. Very. It's like having a flammable liquid next to an open flame, answered Rhinox as he didn't need to say more. And Kiro already stated he might not make it, continued Optimus. And why not? Asked Harriet, annoyed. Kiro worried about the settlements in Vale right now. While the Grimm levels are low, there are other problems out there and he wants to make sure he gets as much ground covered as possible, answered Ozpin as he gave him his full support. How bad is it? Asked Pyrrha as she was lucky her family was okay. Bad, said Kiro as he entered the room and sat down near the teachers. How bad? Asked Clover, curious. Not in front of the kids, said Kiro as he even felt sick to his stomach with what he saw. The older people, including the bots, knew what that meant and agreed with him, while some of the younger people were annoyed hearing that. By the way, where's Ironwood? I thought he'd be here, asked Kiro as he was the last person he thought would skip something like this. We're not sure, answered Ozpin as he had a bad feeling about this. Sorry I'm so late, but I needed to bring someone up to speed, said Ironwood as he entered the room with two others. The first was an elderly man with dark skin and short white hair that showed signs of balding. The man wore a red vest over a cream shirt and has a pink bow tie. He also had on dark mustard color pants with leather boots. Finally, he wore some glasses on his head. But what stood out the most was what he was walking in. It was a chair with 4 legs, one on each corner, that was white with green and yellow on it. The other person surprised Ruby though. Penny, said Ruby, surprised to see her of all people here. Salutation, friend Ruby, greeted Penny as she then looked at the Maximals. Amazing, was all Penny said, looking at them. You can say that again, my dear, agreed the other man. James, said Ozpin sadly as he did it again. Who is this man? Asked Dinobot as he glared at Ironwood. He's Drive Pietro Palembina. He's Altaz's leading researching on artificial limbs and machines, answered Blackarachnia, confusing everyone. Yes, that's right. But how do you know me? Asked Pietro, confused. Megatron looked into all top field researchers in Atlas. Your name appeared a few times, catching his eye, answered Blackarachnia, making the man pale a little. Ironwood, started Optimus as he tried to write words only for someone to say what he was really thinking. Oh, for booting up cold. Why can't you be a team player? Asked Rattrap as he faced palmed. The general can be a team player, countered Harriet with a glare. Really? 'Cause lately he seems to do what he wants when he wants, said Speedclaw as those who were around when he got caught agree with him at various levels. What do you expect with his semblance? Said Blackarachnia, confusing everyone. What does his semblance have to do with this? Asked Ren, confused. His semblance is called metal. It supposedly reinforces his resolve, making him follow through with his choices, answered Blackarachnia as some were more curious why she knew that than what Ironwood's semblance was. And why do you know this? Asked Winter, worried. Megatron did his research on the 4 schools, from the students, to the teachers, to the ones running them, said Blackarachnia as this didn't surprise Ozpin and Ironwood. How many plans does Megatron have for the schools? Asked Ozpin, curious. For here around 12, but for Atlas 32, said Blackarachnia as all the people from Atlas were shocked to hear this. 32, said Marrow in shock. What sort of plans does Megatron have? Asked Winter as they needed to make counterplans. One is allowing Atom to kill all the Shnees. The resulting void would cause the SDC to go bankrupt from the projections we did. From there, lack of dust supplies would affect the world, said Blackarachnia, as this caused the Shnees worry. But my favorite one is causing a civil war between Atlas and Mantle, said Blackarachnia. A civil war? Why? How? Asked Clover, confused. That's the best part. We don't have to do much, the sparks for it are already there, answered Blackarachnia with a smirk. Sparks? What are you going on about? Demanded Ironwood, as he didn't like her games. If you can't figure it out on your own, why should I help you? Stated Blackarachnia as Ironwood growled. Enough, said Optimus as he stood up. We called this meeting to discuss the future, not to pick fights with each other. Hearing that caused Ironwood to clam down, but only slightly. 32 plans, screamed Ironwood in his head, as that was unacceptable. Ironwood, why did you bring Dr. Polendina here? Asked Optimus as he was curious and was trying to change subjects. Please Optimus, call me Pietro, said Pietro with a friendly chuckle. Dr. Polendina is one of Atlas's smartest minds, as proved by Blackarachnia. Having him aboard will be great help going forward, said Ironwood. And his, trailed off Optimus as he looked at Penny. You sure what she is to him? Penny here is my daughter, said Pietro with proud smile. Daughter? You don't have a daughter, said Blackarachnia as his file showed no sign of that. Hearing that caused Pietro to laugh. Good, then that will keep Penny safe then if this Megatron comes for me, said Pietro as he felt great relief hearing that. You're half right there, said Ironwood as Pietro quickly turned to Ironwood in fear. But before he could say anything, the general spoke. Penny here is Atlas' first fully independent android with an aura of her own, finished Ironwood, shocking everyone in the room. Penny and Pietro were shocked that Ironwood would so causally reveal such a top-level secret. And they weren't the only ones thinking that, as Clover, Winter, Kiro and Ozpin looked at Ironwood, but for different reasons. Winter and Clover were shocked that they were never informed about this until now. Kiro glared as he never liked that Ironwood was doing these things behind everyone's back, while he had no problems calling others out for the same thing. But for Ozpin, he knew something was wrong here, like it was a smokescreen. Penny, is that true? Asked Ruby, curious. Yes, answered Penny, worried. That's so cool, said Ruby, excited as she was like a prototype transformer. Oh, can you fly? Asked Nora, excited. No, admitted Penny as she turned to her father. But can I one day? Hearing that, Pietro chuckled. Maybe one day, dear, he told her. Okay everyone, can we get back to the reason for our meeting? Said Optimus as he had at least a dozen questions about Penny. I agree with Optimus, said Ozpin as some of the others agree with them. Well, to start it off with, I would like to know the state of the world, said Optimus, curious and scared. Like I said earlier, it's not pretty in Vale, started Kiro with a sigh. Many of the smaller towns and villages are gone. Some of the people were smart and found cover, but, trailed off Kiro as they knew what he meant. And those who survived? Asked Skyshooter, worried. Some are heading to new locations, while others are rebuilding. But the biggest problem is bandits, answered Kiro as they knew what that meant. Can't we send huntsmen out to protect them? Asked Pyrrha, hopeful. Pyrrha, it's not that simple. Some of those people don't trust huntsmen and wish to live away from the current government systems. And some of these places are far apart, so it will take time to get there, answered John with a sigh. Well said, Mr. Ark, said Glinda, impressed. What about Atlas? Asked Optimus, curious how they're doing. We're better off since we don't have as many settlements as the other kingdoms do. But right now the Atlas and Mantle governments are arguing about how to expand since the Grim levels are so low, answered Winter as she tried to ignore the smirk on Blackarachnia's face. Wow, governments fighting over who gets what? Shocker, said Rattrap with a blank face. I guess some types of governments are universal. That is sad, said Ozpin as he had hoped the Transformers government was better. Okay, but I think we've all waited long enough for this answer, sis. What happened with the aliens? Asked Yang as they still haven't gotten the whole picture yet. Optimus, I'll take this, said Ruby as Optimus nodded at her. I know this will sound crazy, but it's the two brothers, explained Ruby as this confused everyone from Remnant. As in the two brothers from the stories. Asked Blake as she was having trouble believing her as did everyone else. Expect for Ozpin. I do, said Ruby. You can't be serious, said Elm as that was a storybook. I am. I know it sounds crazy, but they admitted it themselves, said Ruby as she questioned her own sanity. Why did they do it, Ruby? Asked Ozpin, serious, making everyone confused from his tone. They said we failed their second test, said Ruby, further confusing everyone. How we do that? Asked Nora, confused. They said that they left humans and faunuses here together and left us with a common enemy, to see if we could live in peace together. They even said they'd give us everything we need to survive, explained Ruby. I can see how we failed, said Blake as she gave the schnees in the room a look, out of bad habit. Though they couldn't argue with that. But that's not all they said, said Ruby. What do you mean, kid? Asked Kiro, curious. Apparently there is someone controlling the Grim, answered Ruby, shocking everyone in the room, but for some of them it was for a different reason. They said someone woman they cursed to never die as long as the world exists is controlling the Grim. And apparently, they sent someone called Ozma back here to deal with her, explained Ruby. Then this Ozma guy doing such a wonderful job then, growled Yang sarcastically. Did they saw anything else? Asked Ozpin as no one saw the look of defeat and sorrow in his eyes. That they seemed sad that we failed their test, and that they almost didn't want to do it, Ruby told him. No one said anything as this was a lot to take in. I wonder though, said Optimus as he had a hand on his chin in thought. What are you thinking, Optimus? Asked Skyshooter as he knew that look. I think they wanted us to stop them, said Optimus, surprising a few of them. What? Said a few people in the room at the same time. What are you saying, Optimus? Asked Ozpin, curious. We've seen their power before. They could have easily destroyed this world without giving us time to prepare, said Optimus as he thought about the tower on the floating island. But why? Asked Yang, confused. They said we were part of the blame. So maybe they wanted to see how far we would go to fix our mistakes, suggested Optimus, but since only he and Ruby meet and talked with them, they had no idea if he was right or not. I think we should suggested Ozpin as they had no idea if Optimus's theory was right or not. Agree, said Optimus. Actually, stated Marrow, only to get cut off. Shut up, Marrow, said Harriet with a glare. No, let him speak. We're all equals here, said Optimus as gave Harriet a disapproving look. That energy wave that hit us, why did only some of you change and the rest stayed the same? Asked Marrow as he was curious about that and happy for Optimus standing up for him. Hearing that question, no one knew what to say from the bots as they were in the dark. I have a few theories, Blackarachnia told them. You do? What are they? Asked Rhinox, genuinely curious. My first theory is energon build up on our bodies, said Blackarachnia as the bots looked at their bodies confused. But I thought we scrubbed the buildup off when we're in the CR chamber, said Cheater, confused. Yes, but that's just the base layer. For a stronger clean we have to stay in the chamber longer, said Rhinox, seeing where Blackarachnia was coming from. Yeah, but after that energon explosion me and the kid got a through cleaning, remember? So our levels can't be that high, stated Rattrap. That bring me to my second theory. There could be something in Remnant's atmosphere that when triggered by the energy wave caused your bodies to mutate, said Blackarachnia as she thought of that too. But what about Quickstrike? He looks like a trans-metal too, but we were both in pods when the blast hit us, asked Silverbolt as he wasn't sure if he was a trans-metal or not. Protoforms are more accessible to different forms of radiation, so it wouldn't be too far stretched to say what affected the others affected you, stated Blackarachnia as Rhinox agreed with her. I see where you're coming from with those theories, Blackarachnia. They're quite sound, praised Rhinox as he agreed with her. Then Blackarachnia, I would like you to lead the study into our new bodies, said Optimus as this caught her off guard. Just like that, you're giving me this task? Asked Blackarachnia, confused. That's right, you clearly have a head start on this compared to Rhinox, so it makes sense to let you continue, said Optimus as Blackarachnia was shocked by this. If this was Megatron he would have given the task to Tarantulas. Okay, said Blackarachnia, unsure what else to say. But out of the corner of his optic Optimus saw Ironwood glaring and fuming at Blackarachnia. Seeing this, Optimus did nothing as he really didn't want to put up with Ironwood right now. Now then, going forward we're going to be making some changes, said Optimus, getting to the point he wanted to for the meeting. What sort of changes? Asked Kiro, curious. First off, we're changing our command structure, started Optimus, making everyone wonder what he had in mind. I'll still be in command with Ruby as my second in command. But we're going to have one person whose focus will be on the bot side of our operations and one on the organic side. Finished Optimus as everyone thought about what he said. Can you explain that better, Optimus? I'm having a hard time understanding it, admitted Blake as it sounded confusing. Of course, Blake. Let's say you need some resources for your gear. You would go to the person in charge of the organics for approval for it. Or you can't help out for a while, you would talk to them. And other things like that, explained Optimus. So they're in charge of the day-to-day of their side? Asked Clover, as that made sense since there were so many in the room. That's correct, Clover, said Optimus. Then who's in charge for each side? Asked Ironwood, as this was important. For the bot side I would like Skyshooter to be in charge, said Optimus as he looked at his friend. Of course, said Skyshooter as he agreed with his course of action. And what about us? Will Uncle Kiro be in charge? Asked Yang, curious. No, I thought about him, but I know he's more of a field leader than this, said Ruby. You know me, agreed Kiro as he couldn't be that type of leader. Then who? Asked Coco as she doubted it was her. I would like Winter to be in charge, said Ruby, shocking everyone. Me? Why me? Why not someone else? Asked Winter, a bit in shock. I want someone with experience, so that takes out teams RWBY, CFVY, and JNPR. I thought about the teachers here, but they're busy enough. And the Ace Ops don't have the experience in the Beast Wars that you do, explained Ruby as what she said made sense. That does make sense, said Glinda as she was extremely busy as were Port and Oobleck. And we've only dealt with the Predacons once, agreed Clover, as experience can be a huge factor. But what about my duties in Atlas? Asked Winter as she wasn't sure, hearing that everyone looked at Ironwood as they knew he had a say in this as well. Ironwood sat there as he thought about it. He weighed the pros and cons before speaking. I'll allow it as long as it doesn't affect your duties too much, Winter, said Ironwood, as that caused some of like Ozpin and Kiro were shocked to hear this. We can discuss duties later, but our next topic is a new base, said Ruby. A new base? But what's wrong with the one you have? Asked Nora, confused. The Axelon isn't in good shape, Nora. With all the damage it's taken, a few rough battles and that will be it for it, explained Ruby. That can't be true, right, Rhinox? Asked Cheater in fear. I'm afraid so, Cheater, said Rhinox sadly as everything that happened to the Axelon was piling up. Then where will we set up shop, mates? Asked Boomer, curious. Maybe in Atlas, suggested Marrow, as they be closer to the Atlas military if they needed it. Or maybe Mistral since it's basically neutral territory, suggested Speedclaw. Actually, I have something you might be interested in, said Ozpin as he brought out his scroll and displayed it on a big monitor. Everyone was shocked at what they saw. It was a huge base. Various levels and entrances, exits. What is this? Asked Optimus in awe. Project Safehouse, answered Ozpin. What's that? Asked Whis as she never heard of it. A tragic tale, really, started Dr. Oobleck. Project Safehouse was to be the greatest in civilian protection. The project was to build a massive base near Beacon so if there was a massive Grim attack, people could find safety there. The base would have various safeguards to slow down or stop Grim if they breach the base. Everyone was shocked to hear this. But there was one question everyone had. Why is this the first we're hearing of this? Asked Clover as it was a good idea. Because of the age-old problems, politics and lean, answered Dr. Oobleck with a sigh. Should have known, said Kiro with a sigh. What were the problems then? Asked Weiss, curious. Politicians changed and so did agendas. They saw the project as a waste of resources and lean, said Oobleck as the older people in the room understood completely. But if you told the people about it, I'm sure that would have changed their minds, said Yang, thinking that would have solved it. Yang, you can't be serious, said Ren with a frown. If they told the people that they were building a safe house from the Grim, people would get nervous and worried, fearing something was going to happen. And when that happens, their emotions would summon the Grim. so not telling them was much safer. But, started Yang as she saw most of the people in the room agreed with Ren. How far is the base done? Asked Rhinox curious. About 50-ish% was built. Said Ozpin as he changed the image showing what was built. About 45% for the structure was built, with the power grid running in those sections. This also includes the command center. But the defense systems aren't up and running. Also, around 3 or 4 entrances were built. Said Ozpin as everyone looked at what was built. Ozpin, I have some question before I say anything. Started Optimus as he looked at the base. Of course, said Ozpin as he had a good idea what they were. Why not finish the base? Asked Optimus as it looked like it would be a good investment. I'd tried Optimus, but it feels like all some politicians care about these days is themselves and lean. Every time I started to make headway something or someone stopped it. Said Ozpin with a sigh. A sigh Glinda shared as she tried to get the project restarted too. Big surprise, said Rattrap as he did his best to avoid political situations. Okay, where is this base then? Asked Optimus as that made a lot of sense about why it wasn't restarted. It's in the Emerald Forest. We needed a location near the school, but not too close that any attack on the school could risk it. In fact, one entrance is by the cliff where the students' initiation started. Said Ozpin as the location made sense. Last question, how can we just take this base without anyone asking questions? Asked Optimus curious. One of those things that made restarting the project so hard was it was forgotten. Not many people remember it. If you hack the government systems and erase the files including the paper ones, no one will know about it. Said Ozpin as Oobleck nodded his head in agreement. Is that all? Asked Rattrap smugly as he could do that in his sleep. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Rattrap. Said Optimus. We still need to see the place before we decide to take it. But that's mostly everything we had to say. Is there anything else anyone wants to share? Asked Optimus curious. I do, said Dinobot in a serious tone. And what's that, Dinobot? Asked Optimus wondering what he had. He then got his answer as Dinobot tossed both golden discs onto the table. Are those? Trailed off Cheater in surprise. How did you get them? Asked Ironwood as one could see the fury in his eyes. After the Transrap explosion I snuck into the Predacon base with the assistance of Blackarachnia. Answered Dinobot as he then put an odd-looking device on the table as pushed it towards Ruby. Ruby, see if you can translate the golden disc Megatron stole. Ordered Dinobot as Ruby looked at the device. Why? Asked Ruby curious. The disc holds many secrets. I believe it's time we solve some of them. Said Dinobot. Hearing that, Ruby agreed and loaded the disc into the device. A screen popped up showing the information to Ruby. I see, said Ruby as she read the information. What's on there? Asked Weiss curious. It's an old log from Cybertron. From before the war started. I can only read it because Optimus Prime used it as a form of communications when the war started. Said Ruby as her eyes widened. Oh my own, said Ruby in shock. What is it? Asked Dinobot curious. This is an instruction manual on how to change the outcome of the Great War. Said Ruby in shock. What? Said every bot in the room. It's all here. Where the Ark is located, to when everyone wakes up. To every major fight and how to change it. It's all here. Said Ruby as she noticed something. Wait, that not right. Said Ruby looking at the screen. What isn't right? Asked Blake curious. The coordinates for Earth, they're wrong. Said Ruby as she took the disc out and checked it. She then started to laugh, confusing everyone. What's is so funny, Miss Rose? Asked Oobleck confused. There's a chip right here. It must have affected the coordinates on the disc. Said Ruby as she looked at Dinobot. You traveled to the wrong planet. Hearing that shocked everyone, though Dinobot started to laugh. I knew it, he said with grin. Do you think you can convince Megatron to stand down with this information? Asked Marrow, hopeful but doubtful. No, there's too many resources here to make him stop just like that. Said Dinobot. Then what should we do with the disc then? Asked Speedclaw curious. I'm not sure, to be honest. It has no power here, so it's kind of worthless. Said Ruby as the information could only work on Earth and at certain times. That is true, but if Megatron regains the disc and finds a way off-world, then he can use its power. Stated Dinobot in a grave tone. Are you suggesting we destroy it? 'Cause there's a lot of people back on Cybertron who would be pissed at us for doing that. Said Rattrap as the fuss it would cause back home would be huge. Then you suggest we leave it. If Megatron can use the disk's power, then there is no telling the damage he can do. Explained Dinobot. Destroy it, said Ruby, shocking everyone in the room. For booting up cold, why would you say that? Asked Rattrap, confused. Because this affects more than just you. It affects all of us. Started Ruby. The original Megatron focused on Earth because of its resources and easy access to. But if our Megatron changes history so the Autobots lose, then Megatron and his greed would sweep the universe and affect every world he finds. And what do you think giant robots will do here for the dust? Explained Ruby as she had a point. Do it, ordered Optimus as Ruby and Dinobot were right. If their Megatron ever got his hands back on the disk, the timeline would be in danger. Are you sure, Optimus? Asked Skyshooter as he understood why. It was the fallout that could be dangerous in more than one way. I am. The knowledge on that disk can change everything we know. Letting it stay in one piece would be deadly. Said Optimus as what could happen was far more dangerous than the fallout. Are you sure? The data on it could be irreplaceable. Said Oobleck as his desire for knowledge was showing. Oobleck, I understand what you are saying. But sometimes the past needs to stay in the past. Said Port as Oobleck sighed. You're right, but the thought of destroying knowledge hurts. Admitted Oobleck as those who knew him understood where he was coming from. May I do the honors? Asked Dinobot, looking at the disk. Do it, said Optimus as Ruby took the disk and tossed it to Dinobot, who caught it. To think something so small holds such huge power. But its power can only be used once and only at certain times. Started Dinobot as he looked at the disk. Then is it really power? After all, true power stays with you. This on the other hand is more like a one-time weapon. Interrupted Yatsuhashi as Dinobot looked at him. You are right, was all he said as he then tossed the disk up. Dinobot then fired his eye lasers at the disk, destroying it. What about the other disk then? Said Blake as she looked at the alien disk. We need to study it. Stated Ironwood. He's right, there might be more secrets hidden in it. Agreed Rhinox as he grabbed the disk. Alright, anything else? Asked Optimus, curious. I have something, said Willow as all eyes landed on her. After the attack, we reviewed the footage and recordings from some of the experiments we were running on the Energon. And we figured it out. How to activate Energon without it exploding on us. Said Willow, shocking everyone. You have, said Optimus, surprised. Yes, we have ran numerous tests and have been able to use Energon as a power source each time. Said Willow, excited. Then what's the next step, Mother? Asked Weiss, excited too. All the Schnee women knew that with Energon unlocked, getting rid of Jacques was that much easier. For the next step I need Blake's help. Said Willow, confusing everyone. Why my help? Asked Blake, not understanding. I want to build Remnant's first Energon power plant on Menagerie. Stated Willow, shocking everyone. I'm sorry, what? Said Marrow, shocked. Ma'am, are you sure that's a good idea? Asked Vine. Why there? Questioned John. Because I want to show the Faunus that it's time to bury the hatchet and start a new chapter in the history of Remnant. Said Willow as she knew the risks. Are you sure about this, Willow? Building the plant at Atlas is much safer. Said Ironwood. It would be, but it's time to show the Faunus that not all Schnees are like Jacques. Willow told him. You know it will be dangerous. Said Ozpin as he understood why she was doing this. To make the world better you have to take a step out of your comfort zone. Said Willow as she was terrified about doing this. If we can help in any way, let us know. Said Optimus as some of the other bots nodded in agreement. Not to sound like a wet blanket, but what about the White Fang? Asked Yang as that was a good question. I can get you to speak to Sana Khan. Said Blake as this shocked everyone in the room. Who? Asked Silverbolt as he was still catching up on some things. Sana Khan is the current leader of the White Fang. Answered Blake. I thought Adam was the leader. Admitted Silverbolt. No, he's in charge of the Vale branch. Blake told Silverbolt. But how can you get her of all people to meet with my mother? Asked Winter as Sana was a high-value target. With help from my father, Gira Belladonna. Said Blake as this shocked the people from Atlas. Gira, didn't he start the White Fang? Asked Skyshooter as he was more focused on the current leader. He did. He tried to reach out with peace, but after so many failed attempts people stared to lose faith in him. That was around when Sienna started to use force to get her point across. And it worked. So many of us felt like people were finally listening to us. My father stayed true to his ways, but he knew he was losing control of the White Fang. So he did the only thing he could, he stepped down and let Sienna take control. Hearing all that, no one knew what to say. Blake, violence is not a way of getting people to listen to you, said Silverbolt, but not in a scolding or disapproving way. I know that now. But at the time you have no idea how it felt, after being ignored for so long, said Blake with her head hanging low. I do, said Dinobot. The feeling like you're finally getting what you deserve. That things are finally going your way. Yeah, something like that, agreed Blake. Blake, getting back on topic, are sure your father can get Sienna there and not try to kill my mother? Asked Weiss, worried for her mother's life. This is what my father wanted, Weiss, peace between humans and Faunus. If I know him, he will do everything in his power to make it work, said Blake, as this could change everything for the better. When can you talk to him to set things up? Asked Willow, excited and nervous. Once our mission is over, answered Blake, as this raised some eyebrows. What mission? Asked Optimus, curious. It's more of recon than anything, said Ruby, as she saw nearly every adult giving her the go on look. Teams RWBY and CFVY are just looking into a few things. Yang knows a guy with underworld connections and is taking Fox and Yatsuhashi with her for muscle, started Ruby. What are you looking for? Asked Kiro, curious, as he was even more curious that Yang knew someone with underworld connections. Roman. I remember seeing him there once. So maybe I can get lucky and find out a few things, answered Yang. Just be careful, was all Kiro said, as that sort of information could be costly and deadly. That's why I'm bringing the boys with me, said Yang with a grin. In Blackarachnia told us a safe house the White Fang have in Vale. So me, Coco, and Weiss are going to check it out, said Ruby. What do you expect to find? Asked Ozpin, curious. Hopefully some good intel, but realistically probably nothing, said Ruby, as that was the most likely outcome. Then may I join you? Asked Penny out of nowhere. Dear, are you sure? Asked Pietro, worried about her. Yes, it's a simple recon mission, stated Penny as she looked at Ruby. Ruby looked at Coco and Weiss for their thoughts on it. They both gave Ruby unsure looks but didn't dismiss her. Okay, said Ruby, as Penny was excited for her first mission. And what of Blake and Velvet? Asked Optimus, as he had a bad feeling in his spark about this. We're infiltrating a White Fang recruitment drive, said Blake, shocking everyone. For booting up cold. Are you trying to kill yourselves? Asked Ratrap in disbelief. We won't allow it, said Glinda as she put her foot down. That was when Ozpin held up a hand to quite everyone. I'm sure you two know the dangers you're putting yourselves in. What I want to know is, why are you doing this? Ozpin asked them. Sir, we know that only one branch of the White Fang is with Megatron. By going to this event, we can hopefully find out some things, answered Blake. Such as? Asked Ozpin, wanting to know what they're looking for, what their goals could be, if they're telling people the truth or a lie, and how many are willing to join them, and other facts like that. Blake told them as Ozpin thought about it. You make some good points. But I would be lying if I said I was okay with just you two going there alone, said Ozpin, as it was too risky for just the two of them. I can go with them, offered Marrow. What are you saying, Marrow? Asked Harriet, confused. It's a dangerous mission, but we could use that intel. And I'm the only other Faunus in the room. And above all else we do owe them for rescuing us, Marrow told them. Do it, said Clover, surprising his team. Are you sure, Clover? Asked Vine, as this was a dangerous mission. He's right, undercover work can be deadly, agreed Elm. I know, but Marrow is right. We can use this intel, and above all else we do owe them for rescuing us, said Clover as he looked at Blake. But sir, I don't feel comfortable with this, said Winter, as there was too many variables here. I agree. Is there any way to scout the area beforehand or something like that? Asked Optimus, as he wanted to cut down the danger. You can't. We gather in one area then get transported to another, said Blake, as that was a new feature. What if we keep a transmitter on at all times? That way you can track us and if need be get us out of there. Suggested Velvet, as she had doubts about this too. It would work, unless they jam us. But without a reason I don't see them doing that. Said Rhinox as Optimus thought about it. Do it, said Optimus as he had a bad feeling about this, but he trusted his team. But at the first sigh of trouble or danger, get out of there, ordered Optimus as he left no room for debate on it. What about us? What can we do? Asked Nora, gesturing to herself and her team. I think time spent learning about the war and practicing your skills would be time well spent, said Ruby, making Nora frown. That sound like schoolwork though, whined Nora. Knowledge can be greater than any weapon or semblance, said Rhinox. He does have a point, Nora, agreed Ren. Besides, I'll have Dinobot here get you up to speed, one way or another, said Ruby as Dinobot grinned at them, making JNPR gulp in fear. Nice knowing you, said Rattrap with a smug look on his face. Rattrap, said Cheater in a scolding manner, but did nothing to get rid of Rattrap's smug look. Anything else? Asked Optimus as he shook his head at that. I have something, said Ozpin as he took a big sigh. What is it? Asked Optimus, curious. I want to tell you this all now. What I'm about to tell you is the truth, no matter how far-fetched it sounds, started Ozpin, confusing everyone except Ironwood, Glinda, and Kiro. To start with, my first name was Ozma, said Ozpin, surprising everyone. Ozpin, what are you saying? Asked Optimus, confused. It all started like this, said Ozpin as he told them his tale. Long ago he was once a man called Ozma, a simple adventurer. One day he heard of a princess being held in a castle against her will and he rescued her. He found out this princess' name was Salem. The two fell in love with each other. But then one day Ozma fell ill and no cure could be found, resulting in his death. Wanting nothing more than to bring him back, Salem went to the God of Light and asked him to bring him back. But the God of Light refused. But that didn't stop Salem. She then went to the God of Darkness and asked the same thing, but without telling him that she went to the God of Light first. The God of Darkness granted her wish only for the God of Light to appear. The two fought as they soon realized they were tricked. He then reawakened in front of the God of Light, telling him that he must stop Salem. Ozpin then found himself in a body that wasn't his own, in a world so different from the one he left. He then found Salem, but she didn't seem like a danger to anyone other than herself. They rekindled their love and started their own kingdom. But soon Ozpin saw why he was sent back, as he started to see Salem's true colors. When he tried to slip away, he died. But he soon woke in another body as an unknown amount of time had passed. This led to their war. But Salem had several advantages over Ozpin. The biggest ones were the Grimm and Salem's magic. Ozpin had magic too, but it was slowly decreasing with each new body. He even told about 4 powerful relics that are hidden beneath under each school. And about the maidens. Wow, was all Cheater could say. Something others agreed with. How can that all be true? Said John in disbelief. It matches what we heard, said Ruby. Things were making sense now. The way the Grimm acted, what happened on the flying island. Are you kidding me? Yelled Yang as she slammed her fist on the table. This whole time you've been fighting this secret war and you never once told anyone about it. Continued Yang as her hair looked like it was smoking. Miss Xiaolong, there was a time everyone knew about her. But as time went on, she became a story that was then forgotten, said Ozpin. And you allowed that, countered Yang. Because ignorance is bliss in this situation. If we always made sure that everyone knew about Salem, then none of us would be here right now. And if we were, we wouldn't be us, Ozpin told her. When did people start to forget about her? Asked Skyshooter, curious. It was after the Battle of Menagerie, I believe, said Ozpin as then sighed and said. And one of worst loses I've had against Salem. What do you mean? Asked Ruby as she knew that look. We found Salem there. So after being convinced by my allies, we launched an all-out assault on her. Thousands of warriors attacked her, including myself. She killed every one of us. When I came back, I also learned that 2/3 of Menagerie became dessert because of that fight. Ozpin told them, making Blake gasp as no one knew that about Menagerie. My own, said Clover in disbelief. How powerful was Salem? Sir, did you know that? Asked Winter, curious. He did tell me that story, said Ironwood. And yet you still want to launch a full-scale assault on her, said Kiro with a glare. What? said Marrow as he was willing to die for his kingdom, but that sounded like a suicide mission. Our weapons are different than back then, stated Ironwood. Is that why you've been so focused on AIs lately? Asked Pietro as things started to make more sense. Yes, we sent in the drones first to soften her up, then we send in the main force, said Ironwood. Yeah, and all those dumb bot will do to her is annoy her, said Kiro as they weren't that impressive. I've seen her, said Blackarachnia as she held herself in fear. The air around her, the power she showed, she's not someone we can take lightly. Do you know where she is right now? Asked Optimus curious. The current theory is she's on the dragon-shaped continent. But where is the question? Said Ozpin as that was a lot of land to cover. Is that why no one tried to claim that land? Asked John as he always wondered why no kingdom tried to claim it. Yes, there are countless Grimm there, so no one can get inland enough to scout it, said Ozpin. I should know, said Kiro as he tried once and nearly died. But what about us? Asked Cheater as Grimm avoid them. I case you forgot Spots, the Grimm normally avoid us. But they seem to ignore that when ordered to, said Blackarachnia as she then smirked. You have something, don't you? Said Ruby. It's still just a prototype, but I believe I have found a way to track the Grimm, Blackarachnia told everyone as her smirk turned into a full-face grin. But how? Asked Pietro as no one from Remnant could believe her. Using the data about the Grimm from both sides, I noticed an energy form coming from them. I didn't know what could have been till now. But it could be a form of communication between them all. But scanning for this energy should allow us to track them, explained Blackarachnia as everyone was speechless. How accurate is this scanner? Asked Ironwood as this could be what they needed. I'm not sure. I haven't tested it out yet. Blackarachnia told him, not liking the look on his face. It made her think of Megatron. James, started Ozpin. I know what you're thinking. With a way to track the Grimm is a huge advantage, it's not one that will change the course of the war. He's right, Jimmy. Knowing where someone is, isn't that powerful? Added Kiro. Really? Asked Yang with a sneer. Yang, said Ruby surprised by her tone. No, let her talk, said Ozpin as he's dealt with this before. How? Why are you all okay with all this? Demanded Yang. What do you mean, Yang? Asked Blake as a lot had come out. The fact Ozpin and all of them have been hiding this from us this whole time. Heck, them telling us about the brothers might have stopped the reckoning, said Yang annoyed. We didn't join in until after the signal was sent. By then I doubted there was anything we could have done, countered Ozpin as he wished he could have done something. He's right, Yang, said Optimus as they had made up their minds long ago. And you're all okay with the fact that he lied to us about his history, about the Grimm, about Salem? Yelled Yang as she stood up and glared at Ozpin. I hear what you're saying, Yang, but how's that any different than us with the Beast Wars? Asked Ruby as Yang didn't have an answer. Yang, started Ozpin as he surprised her by using her first name. I don't like lying to everyone about this. But sometimes we need to hide the truth from the public to keep them safe. Safe? How is lying to the world keeping them safe? Demanded Yang. Because I've seen it all before. People say they grew and changed, but I've seen it so many times before where it is all talk. How when they come face to face with Salem their true colors come out. There are those who stand up to her and then there's those who beg her to spare them. And as the years have gone by, more and more people beg her. So to answer your question, I've seen what happens when people know the truth with mixed results, said Ozpin with a sigh. We're not those people, countered Yang with a frown. I've heard that many times before, countered Ozpin with a sigh. Just today I confirmed a traitor in our ranks. Who? Asked Glinda, fearful of the answer. Lionheart, said Ozpin sadly. Not him, said Glinda sadly. How can you be sure? Asked Skyshooter, curious as that was quite the claim. It was when your three mysterious people got those histories in Mistral. Something like that can only happen with Lionheart's clearance level, started Ozpin. That's not a lot to go on, stated Skyshooter. True, that's where Kiro came in, said Ozpin. I was watching over a maiden when she got attacked. I couldn't see their faces, due to a semblance. But after seeing the reports on the three with the Preds, they match up pretty good. But that not the only thing I have, said Kiro as she brought out his flask and took a drink. What else do you have? Asked Clover, worried. When we started to suspect Lionheart, I reached out to some contacts over in Mistral. When I got no response I went there, only to find out they're all dead. Somehow Mistral's huntsman death count had exploded, said Kiro sadly. What? That's news to me, said Clover as he looked at Ironwood, who was also surprised. Same to me, said Ironwood gravely, as while he and Kiro butt heads a lot he knew he would never lie about this. But falsifying death counts to the other kingdoms is a capital crime, said Port bitterly, as they didn't know that either. Again, only someone at Lionheart's level can do that, said Ozpin grimly. But today when we spoke, whenever she came up he looked fearful more than usual. And he kept looking off to the side like something was there. Finished Ozpin as Ironwood realized he was right. What will you do? Asked Pyrrha as she met Lionheart. He seemed like such a good man. This is a rare chance for us. We never found a mole of Salem's like this before. We can use this to our advantage, said Ozpin as he had to move carefully. A dangerous gambit, said Dinobot as he understood where he was coming from. So you're just going to use him? Questioned Yang with a glare. What would you do then? Asked Ozpin, curious as Yang stopped. This is bigger than you realize. Headmasters are beacons for their kingdoms. If one dies suddenly or is arrested, the fallout would be gigantic, stated Ozpin, as even he wouldn't know what could happen. Crikey, mates, talk about a minefield, said Boomer as he never thought of it like that. Ozpin, started Optimus, unsure how to word his question. How long have you been at this for? Too long, admitted Ozpin as he didn't tell them everything. That he was extremely tired too. Tired of not being able to do anything, tired of taking innocent people's lives, tired of people always judging him for keeping his secrets when they do the same thing. And maybe that's the problem, said Ozpin, suddenly confusing people. What are you talking about, Ozpin? Asked Ironwood, as part of him was hoping he was going to give control to him. Me and Salem have been at this for far too long. Maybe it's time to give control to someone else, said Ozpin as he looked at Ruby. Oh hell no, growled Yang as she understood where he was going. Ozpin, what are you doing? Demanded Ironwood, shocked. We have no idea how long the war with Salem will go on for. We need a leader who can stand up to the tests of time, said Ozpin as Ruby understood. You want the matrix of leadership, stated Ruby as it made sense. Yes, the matrix and me are similar but vastly different. While I merge knowledge, the matrix pools it. And with that difference I believe whoever holds the matrix should lead the war against Salem, said Ozpin. You can't expect Ruby to fight two wars at the same time, stated Weiss, as that was too much. I pray that it stays two wars, responded Ozpin. What do you mean? Asked Optimus. I fear it will only be a matter of time before Megatron and Salem meet. And while I doubt they'll become allies, I can see them uniting against us, said Ozpin, as that was a scary thought. No one said anything after that, as Ozpin reveal was a lot to take in a process. I think we should end this meeting here, said Optimus, as no one disagreed with him. Everyone started to get up and leave. Ozpin saw Yang glaring at him as he was used to that look as he went over to Optimus and Ruby. Optimus, Ruby, can I talk with you two in private? Asked Ozpin as two shared a look confused. Why? Asked Ruby, unsure. Not here, was all Ozpin said as he walked away. The two shared a look and followed him to his office. Ozpin, what's this about? Asked Optimus, confused. I need you two to spy on James, said Ozpin out of nowhere. Wait, what? Said Optimus, baffled by the request. He's up to something big, otherwise he wouldn't brought in Pietro and Penny like that, explained Ozpin, as the two were still unsure. That's not a lot to go on though, said Ruby. I never knew about Penny, stated Ozpin, shocking the two. You didn't, said Optimus. No, this was the first time he ever said anything, explained Ozpin. Optimus and Ruby looked at each other as they thought about it. Ironwood hasn't been the most corporate person, especially since he wants people to be corporate his way. I can ask Blackarachnia to make a virus to look into things, said Ruby, as she was hoping Ozpin was wrong. Thank you, and I pray I'm wrong about this. But if I've learned one thing, it's to trust your gut, said Ozpin, as his gut was saying Ironwood was hiding something big. That makes three of us, said Optimus, as this was something they've all feared. Oh. Atlas. Later that day, Ironwood was walking down a hall in a secret research lab. So secret only a select handful knew about it. He soon reached his destination as he entered a viewing room. He then looked out the glass window as he looked down at 5 perfectly fine stasis pods and the people working on them. He was lucky he found them intact after what happened. Though he wished he didn't give up Pietro, so he could work on them. But he knew the doctor wouldn't help him with the project, as these 5 transformers would be Atlas's new protectors, loyal only to him. Once they reprogrammed them. Though the reports he got state that 3 of them would be ready in a matter of weeks if things continue the way they are. He then looked at the alt forms he had chosen for them, as they weren't animal forms. On 3 screens next to him was a tank, a jet, and a bike. These would be their alt forms once they were ready. Ironwood grinned at the thought of his Transformer army. And this is the end of part 19 of this What If. Do not forget to leave a comment down below, subscribe to this channel.